Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is a founder and head teacher of Guizhen Philo-Cultural Society. He has extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. Tonight, Lin will be speaking about the thrice yearning ceremony. Welcome back, Lin.
Hello, hello.
So the thrice yearning ceremony, what the hell is that?
You going to hell for that one. I'm kidding.
I'm already going there anyways.
I'll be doing a ceremony for you. I'm kidding. Thrice yearning ceremony. When people hear the word thrice and yearning, they think they're screaming and begging off the top of their lungs at least 3 times a day. And that's at least some of the responses I've gotten in the past several years with this topic. Thrice yearning ceremony, basically it's taking the 3. Okay, thrice is 3, okay? It means 3 periods of the day. Yearning means you're really like, not begging, but you're really wishing for something to happen. Okay, and then obviously ceremony means it's a gathering of a hell of a lot of people doing the same thing, following a certain rites for having their intentions manifest the desired outcome. So if we put this in a more simplified manner, it's just really intending 3 times throughout the day in 3 periods of the day for a certain outcome to manifest. And what is the outcome? It's called being reborn in the Buddha's Pure Land, or Amitabha Buddha's land of ultimate bliss, which, in the future we'll do a show on Pure Land itself, discussing exactly, what Pure Land is, land of ultimate bliss, and Buddha lands in general, so people will understand a little bit more different than, it's just like another heaven. People go there to get away from the sufferings. Not necessarily like that.
The land of ultimate bliss, it sounds pretty good. Is there like 72 virgins there?
That's the other land of ultimate bliss. Hey, if that's where it takes you, enjoy. But when we're talking about the Buddhist aspect of a Pure Land, it means a state of being, but not an intermediary state. It's not one of those bliss states or a passage state where you go through and then you come out of it. It's one of those worlds, okay? Let's put it this way, like you have Earth, and think of that way. Think of it that way, in one aspect that way. And then there's the other aspect of seeing it as mind. And then we're going to put those both together and say, well, things are created from the mind alone. Thus, the earth is created out of a mind, and thus interacts with all things of the mind. Therefore, the Pure Land is of the mind itself. Doesn't make it less real, because everything you think of does manifest. People thought of a computer, they made one. People thought of a paperclip, they made one. Things have to go through your thought first. Then they come out as a physical manifestation. So anyway, back to the point. Thrice yearning ceremony, when it's put together, basically it's taking certain teachings of Pure Land practice, also taking the Heart Sutra, the Amitabha Buddha Sutra, the shorter version, the Great Compassion Mantra. You can throw that in there as well. Actually, early in the beginning, if you're opening up as a very intense, long version where you're having hundreds of thousands of people gathering, then you're going through a hell of a lot of steps to start opening the doors. But you want to do the shorter version, which is just you yourself at home or with a small group of people. Then you could go throughout the whole process, or you can just go right to the mannerism of the ceremonies itself, which is specific readings, specific mantras and whatnot, intentions and whatnot, and go for the meat and potatoes right away. But all of it is so very important. One way is not quicker, they're just very important. And I made it shorter in a certain handbook I made called Thrice Yearning Ceremony Handbook, which was revised from another Thrice Yearning Ceremony handbook. So I didn't make this up. This has been around for a while. Anywho, the ceremony intends for those who have already passed on, who are in the hell realms or also in various other states who have not attained Buddhahood. For those who have not attained Buddhahood and freedom from the cycle of birth and death, to awaken to the principles of the Buddhist teachings so they can either eventually or suddenly jump off the cycle of birth and death and leave their dual mind or dual thinking mind aside or transcend it. So it kind of works in this scenario. Um, let's talk about it as though beings in the hell realms of their mind, okay? You are petitioning, basically. When you start up the ceremony, you're getting names of people who have passed on, okay? And you are intending that these beings are able to hear what you're going to be reading to them and speaking to them. So if they're in the hell realms of their mind going through these vast sufferings that they go through, um, what you're doing is trying to call them out. And it's really hard to do that. You got to have strong virtue and merit to really do that. So you always invoke, well, not invoke really, because they're not ghosts, but you're calling on the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, saying, hey, can you help out here? Can you get this person? I would like for them to hear these teachings, or at least get these merits and transfer it to them, these merits and virtues, so they can, get out of their suffering sooner and then be able to awaken to the principle. And most of the time, if it is in their karma to be able to step out of their suffering, it is emphasized and they're able to get out of the suffering. It's emphasized because of your good deed of calling on them. You're wanting to give them a chance to be out of their suffering. So that is a good deed itself. And wholeheartedly and sincerely, it is projected to them. That vibration is projected to that state of consciousness that they're in. And it helps them to come out. And they come out for that. It's like coming out of jail. Okay, come out for a few days, but this time you're only coming out for a few hours. Out of the hell realms of your mind, you're able to step out, listen to the teachings, and if you can awaken, you don't go back. But if you don't awaken, you go back. That's just the way it is. You go back on your own accord.
So how do you know if how would you know if a spirit is ready to participate?
You don't know. You're intending for them to. Whether they do or not really is not important, because they don't need to be there energetically with you to gain any benefit. Intention, mind is very powerful. When you're projecting such an idea or such a force to this specific consciousness, they're going to receive it. And if they can awaken while they're going through their suffering somehow, if they can pause for a moment, or well, then they'll be able to get out of it. If not, then the accumulation of your intentions for them and the virtue and merit that you send to them, transfer to them, and the transfer of merit and virtue practice will build up over time. They'll be able to get out of their suffering state. So they don't need to be there, and most people don't even know if they're there or not. You're just going into the ceremony with all faith that one way or another this person's going to get some benefit somehow, no matter if it's one time or if it's 500 times you do the ceremony, So when you're doing the ceremony, originally there's large groups of people, and they petition thousands upon thousands upon thousands of names to the usually monks perform the ceremony, and the people follow along with the monks. It adds in a lot of power to the ceremony. And, we can go on with some of the experiences I've had doing that a little bit later. So usually monks would handle the ceremony, and the names would be put together, and you're intending for these people. You don't have to recite their names in this gigantic group. But basically, it's the person knows. Like you're intending someone, that person's going to be there or not. That's really up to your intuitive state, if you can see them there or not. But you're having the faith that they will receive such things, and then they go through the motions, and it's very detailed when you're doing it very, very large group. When you're doing it in a small group, well, if you're doing it by yourself, it's simply just putting some flowers on an altar with a Buddhist picture there, lighting up some incense. It just creates a good ambiance. The incense and the scent of the incense, you offer it up as an intention of saying, here's something sweet smelling, something soothing, I offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The flowers, sweet smelling, beautiful, I offer them up too. If you don't have the money for incense or flowers, in your mind, making such an offering is just as good. So a lot of people think, well, I don't have money to make offerings. I really want to make donations to Buddhist temples, but I don't have money for it. If you listen or if you read in Buddhist sutras how Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have made offerings to the Buddhas of the 10 directions with jewels and flowers and adorned canopies and all this stuff. Where are they getting the money for that? You know, they're not rich. They're doing it with their mind. They're intending such things to manifest and be offered. That's just as good as if it was truly there, because it takes the mind first. Then second step is that it manifests. So it's not that they're thinking, oh, I have diamonds in my hands to offer to the Buddhas, and boom, they offer diamonds that are physically present in their hands. It's not like that at all. The intention itself is, if it's sincere, then the offering has been true.
Master Xunyan, he burned off his finger. Was that part of the thrice yearning ceremony, or was that something different?
I don't know the conditions in which he did it, but a lot of hardcore aesthetic practices in Buddhist practice, excuse me, can go with cutting a piece of meat off your body and offering it to the Buddhas. And they don't eat meat. It's not saying that they're meat eaters at this point. You're offering up your blood and flesh to them. It's not that. It's you're offering up the core of your essence. Like your essence is manifested within this body. So you're offering a piece of this body, something the essence has helped create. Okay? So you're offering that to the Buddhas of the 10 directions, but it's not the physical Buddhas you're offering it to. It's that true thus nature where all things reside in or on, or whichever way you want to say it. You're offering it back to it. So it's saying, though it's suffering that I cut my skin off, though it's painful that I rip the meat out of my arm, I'm doing so with such a sincere heart that I want to kind of almost, it's not like it's this way, but it's almost like a confirmation to yourself that I am really, really, really deeply cultivating and having faith in these practices.
It's a good way to save a couple.
Yourself.
It's a good way to save a couple bucks too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Well, some people may look at it and go, oh, he's, mutilating himself for the Buddha's teachings. That's ridiculous. That's terrible. That's not natural. There's nothing that is not natural in this world. This is what people have to understand. Natural and unnatural do not exist. They don't exist. Our own preference of how we want to take what we assume is so soft and loving and sweet is natural, and that which is destructive is unnatural. Sorry. These things are not true. They're all the same thing. So this computer keyboard I have in front of my face, though it's made with chemicals and made with technology and all that stuff, and people say, well, that's not natural. Well, yes, it is. It came out of the earth. They didn't get this elements to make these things from other far-off planets. And if so, it's natural to those planets, but not natural to our Earth. We're all in the same damn universe. All the elements on this planet, okay, no matter how you want to mix and match them, they are for positive and negative uses. But they're all natural. Even the smog and even the pollution and toxicity in the waters that corporations are pouring in our land, these things are natural too. It's just that they are in a state of destruction. They're in a state of poison. So you want to find a way to transform that poison. Okay? So any action or practice that seems as though it's causing suffering or harm when it comes to like cultivation, it would be considered like an aesthetic practice where you're imposing some pain on you, but you're imposing pain to have a strengthening of your concentration ability and the detachment of self or an ego. Okay, I don't suggest people go and start puncturing themselves with needles. I love the Buddha and start puncturing themselves with needles. It doesn't work that way. It's not that way at all. You don't bang your head on the floor when you bow and go, I love the Buddha, Amitabha, boom, and bang your head and split your head open. He's not going to look at you and go, wow, you're really sincere. He's going to go, you're an idiot. He's going to look at you, smile, and go, you're such a pitiful person. You're such an idiot. What are you doing? And probably have someone go over there and kick you in the butt and wake you up. So what are you doing, you stupid? Don't bang your head on the floor. That's not what the point is. But if you're bowing and casually just bowing and let your head hit the floor, and it does so at a controlled manner, eventually you'll have a mark on your head or cut your head open because you're bowing over and over again with the same spot hitting the ground. And though it's painful in the process, you are not oblivious to the pain, but you are not in the state of I am feeling pain, so I'm going to ignore the pain. It's not that at all. You're simply, you're in that state of none of this exists. The I doesn't exist, so there's no pain being felt. That's sincerity. When you're sitting there with blood going down your face, going, "Oh my God, I'm bleeding. Let me get a napkin. I'll keep bowing, but let me put a Band-Aid on my head." You know, though you're still bowing, that's pretty good, but you're lacking the single-minded concentration.
So, can we get into the meat and potatoes of what the thrice yearning ceremony actually entails?
Sure. Basically, it's just getting your intentions for those who have passed on and for those who are still alive, okay? And even for those who've, if you want to include them in past lives that you don't even remember, whether you've hurt them or not or whatever, you cross their paths sometime, you don't even remember them, it's your past life. But your intention is to get all of them together so they can listen to the teachings of Amitabha Buddha. You're trying to get them to listen to these teachings to wake up, listen to the teachings to awaken to the true nature, or at least get some type of awakening at something so they can leave their suffering behind. That's basically what it's doing, basically.
So, is it acceptable to perform this ceremony for, say, people that are not Buddhists?
Actually, you can. It doesn't matter if you're Buddhist or not. I performed the ceremony as an individual, not in a big group, personally for someone who passed on, who was known to not even care about Buddhism at all, but their family did, and they wanted to do the ceremony for them. So you can do this for anybody, or someone who's not Buddhist who wants to take up this and go, wow, this sounds like a really great thing. I would like to do this for somebody, even though I don't believe in it. Maybe it has merit. Maybe it can help them out. I won't know until, maybe I pass on, and if I see them around the way, they can let me know. So.
And if not, I guess it's still good merit for yourself, right?
Pretty much. I mean, what can I say? It's not that it's not going to work. It will work eventually. It's not certain that the person who you're doing this for, that they can awaken to the teachings, awaken to the true principle at the time you're giving them the ceremony. It's not certain. You understand? It's like you got these beings. Let's just put it from the hell realms perspective. These beings in the hell realms. You're asking for them to step out of their suffering for a moment. Now, if they're in the hell realms undergoing suffering, how the hell are they getting out? Well, the intensity of your wish for them to listen to something so beneficial for them may be strong enough to let them just awaken a little and step out. It's kind of like you're petitioning for them to get out. So those hell dwellers or those in the hell realms trying to keep you back in your place so you can go through your suffering, you're kind of giving them a little letter that's saying, hey, look, I want this such and such person to listen to these teachings. Can you let them out? And they're going to go, based on that person's karma, they would say yes or no. Now, they're not ones to say, oh, when I want to let them out, I'll let them out. Not at all. It's not like that at all. Is that you have beings in the hells of people's minds, just like you have beings in the realms of people's minds in the human world. Okay, they're there too, and in those hell realms, there's beings out there that guard those who are undergoing their suffering. They're going to have to undergo this, and they're not running away. We'll keep them in there. That's their karma. Get rid of their karma fast, and they can get the hell out of here and get on with their lives. Basically, that's what they're doing this for. So anyway, you're saying, do they have the karmic conditions to hear these teachings? You won't know if you're getting an answer or not. You won't know if you're getting a yes or a no, but you're putting it out there. If not, and they have to undergo their sufferings, your merit and virtue can be transferred to them to eventually let them raise their conscious level, raise their vibrational state to leave their mental suffering, their mental hells. And then they get on their way. Some can be able to participate in the ceremony, get out, sit around, meditate with you, bow with you, recite with you, whether it's in English, Chinese, German, doesn't matter what language it's in because it's the vibration. You're in your sincerity and vibration. That's how ghost spirits and whatnot communicate. Okay, and then once they get a lock onto your mind, they'll utilize your language if they have that skill to utilize the state of your language in order to communicate with you. But anyway, back to the point. They will come, sit with you, go through the ceremony with you, and if they awakened, they won't go back to the hell realms of their mind. If they didn't awaken, they go right back as quick as they came. It's basically that.
I've read some of your writings where you discuss some of your experience performing the ceremony. Would you be able to maybe go into that a little in detail?
Sure. Just remember, whatever I experienced isn't a marker that says when people do the ceremony, they should experience that or they're not doing it right. It has nothing to do with that. The experiences you have during whatever you're practicing, whatever you're doing, is simply just due to what you're doing. Maybe you don't have an experience. Maybe you don't have anything else. You just are doing what you're doing. That's it. And you go to sleep, and the world is the way it is. Maybe you do have a state, or you do have experience, or you do whatever comes to you. Remember, it doesn't matter. I really always emphasize whatever I experience. Don't use it as a marker. It's really irrelevant. It's just what I experienced. Some people want to argue with me of, oh, because that's what I have in my mind, so I experience such and such things. Sorry, you don't really know me. And I've learned very young to not purposely make things appear in my mind and then believe them, because I know from a very young age that the mind is the biggest liar you're ever going to find. So your own mind is the biggest hypocrite, the biggest liar in the world. That's the ego, that's the conscious mind, the false thinking mind. You don't believe your mind until you can believe your mind. Okay? And you can only believe your mind when you stop false thinking. Okay? So I learned at a young age that, you got to look at your thoughts and don't believe everything you see in your mind or with your eyes. Don't believe everything you get with your senses. Okay. Now we're done with that. One of the experiences I had while I was in my school, when I had my cultivation school in New York, Jing Yuan, the Lay Buddhist Cultivation Center, it was also a cultural center, a community center, it was a martial arts school, it was many things to many people. I closed it in 2011, but anywho, one of the experiences I had with this, let's see, which one would you want me to talk on? I actually only gave you 3. I only had written 3 or 4 experiences that I sent to you.
Maybe one of the better. Well, I don't want to say the better
The
ones.
better ones.
They're all pretty interesting, and some people may have a hard time, accepting some of it, right?
Yeah.
The one that might be the most beneficial for people would be the one where you brought a couple of your students along with you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was the first time I did the ceremony. Actually, the first time I went out to do the ceremony. I really wanted to do it before, but I didn't have the chances for it. I mean, I was in China, and they had them, but I had to work, and I didn't really get a chance to do that. I participated in some in China, which was just a chanting service for those who are ready to pass on, and that was quite intense too. But anywho, I brought my students, 2 of my students, I believe, or 3 of my students. One of them is going to hate me if I forget it, so they know my memory sucks. So anyway, I brought some of my students out to this thrice journey ceremony in Manhattan. And one of them, she didn't have breakfast in the morning, and I had specifically told her, you got to eat breakfast early in the morning. We're leaving 5:30 in the morning, going to be there by 6:30. Ceremony begins very quickly, and we won't eat till midday, around 11:30, 12 o'clock. It's like, oh yeah, I ate, no problem. So we get there, we start the ceremony, and of course we were helping out, prepare things here and there. And a little bit into the ceremony, I noticed at the corner of my eye, she starts to get a little faint, like she starts a little dizzy, Like I felt from her this charge of energy that just dropped. It felt like this big charge and then it just dropped down, something like that. I'm not reading my experience to you, I'm just going off my memory. If I read it, it'll be much more beautiful. But anywho, I felt like someone's energy dropped. So I turn around and look, and she starts to collapse, faint. So we catch her, we sit her down. She's, very weak. Then I asked her, what's going on? Did you eat? She says, no, I didn't eat. I said, I told you to eat. Okay, got to get you out of here. You got to eat something. So we pick her up, we carry her out to the steps. Of course, there was more air, cooler, because the ceremony had, almost 1,000 people in the auditorium. It was well ventilated, but still, it's a lot of energy. And I warned them, I said, you're going to be in a place with a lot of people cultivating the same thing, holding the same view, same intention. The energy is going to be very thick, but very high. So be careful. You got to eat. Keep yourself stable at that point. She didn't. So took her out. Some of the people who were in the ceremony ran out too. We got her some bread, some water, some other foods to eat. And she gained her energy back. I said, if you want to go home, if you want to rest, I'll take you home, or you can stay here. And she wanted to stay. So after 20 minutes, half hour, she got her energy back. We went back and did the ceremony. While we're in the ceremony, we were getting a little deeper into the ceremony. I don't even think it fully began, like got really deep into it. It was just still in the beginning processes of the ceremony. I felt something very strong overhead, and I just look up, and boom, the whole entire ceiling changed. It was like looked like a black hole. Okay, think of what a black hole looks like, and then in the middle of the black hole, there was this purplish light, bluish purplish light funneling up and spreading open, and it just engulfed the whole ceiling, and then the blackness of the hole turned into this light bluish light, purplish light. I was with my mind's eye, I was able to see the whole entire building we were in was covered with a dome of this like purplish, light purplish energy, just covered over, like protected or so. And this funnel that I saw, this black hole that turned into this light bluish, purplish portal or so, funneled into itself and shot right into the universe. It was like I could see right through it and see as an observer outside of it. It was amazing. And all of a sudden, this heavy burst, it sounded like this big shot in. And you're just seeing these countless living beings, souls, spirits, whatever people want to give it, whatever people want to name it, just falling in. It was just like they were being drawn into the ceremony, being sucked into the ceremony, and just filling up every aspect of this auditorium. And though it looked like the room was full with people, it was full with everything else too. I mean, the aisles were full. Seats that already had people were full with more beings. I mean, it was like everywhere, ceiling, walls, everything was just beings that had passed on. It was just amazing. Then all of a sudden, my student, this funny kid, so funny, and he's one of the very accomplished students. He turns around and says, I look at him, and I say, what's wrong? He goes, is this really necessary? And I start laughing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I don't feel anything special. This is just another one of those ceremonies that, do something for those who passed on. You get them in all religions, He said something to that effect. And he was going on a lot. I was like, keep going, go ahead. And I'm laughing because I'm seeing all this happening while he's telling me this is a whole bunch of nonsense. In other words, But I mean, come on, we got to read. This is very mechanical. He's going on a little bit. And I said, hey, do you believe me when I tell you things? Oh, yeah, 100%. I was like, you cannot see what I'm seeing. He had nothing to say. But he looked at me and goes, what? What are you seeing? And I say, oh, this is what I'm seeing. You have no clue what's going on right now. You don't have any clue what the function is of this ceremony. It's amazing. And he just looks at me. His mouth drops a little bit. His eyes widen a little. He goes, go on. I said, I never told you to believe anything I say. I always tell you to find out with your own mind. Find out with your own logic and reasoning. Use your own mind's eye to see, whatnot. But this time, I really hope you can open your mind's eye, because I would love for you to see what I see right now. And he goes, really? I said, it's amazing what is coming in and what the function is happening right now. And he just looked at me, looked at the handbook, and just followed the ceremony. He goes, okay, I get it. I understand. And he just followed it. Whether he saw or not is irrelevant. He basically had taken my word for it. But I never really exaggerate what I see, what I experience. I don't flippantly speak about, and I don't run around excited off the top of my head screaming, I saw this, I saw that. I don't do that. I don't sell what I experience, and I don't sell what I do. So he trusted me on that. But what I saw at that time was all these beings coming in, listening, wholeheartedly listening to the ceremonies. None of them tried to disrupt anything. We had different types of beings. I mean, you had hell dwellers, beings of the hell realms who have that capacity to stay in the hell realms, have that vibration. They're there because that's the state of their mind. Then you have beings who were sent into the hells by their own mind to experience their own suffering. You had beings from different realms, the heavenly realms, the different types of places, all there, listening to the teachings, bowing when we bow, reciting when we recite. And when one session of the ceremony was over, they stayed. And the second ceremony started, and more came. And when that finished, those stayed. And the third ceremony began, more came too, and everyone was all together. It was like such a heavy mass of energy. And when it was finally over, they sucked right up. Some went on to where they had to go. Some went right back to where they were before, and some moved on to the Pure Land. It was just an amazing sight. After that day,
we'll have to take your
yeah, go
word
ahead.
for it, though.
You would, don't take my word for it. Just understand that's what I've seen. Now you can take what I say with a grain of salt, which is fine. But there's some things that the logic and reasoning of everyone's normal logic and reasoning, which is the usual common logic and reasoning, some things don't go with that. So it means we have to question our common logic and reasoning sometimes, or most of the time, or all of the time. Our common logic and reasoning is only based on our own accumulated views and our own conditioning. It's not actually what is out there. It covers up what we can actually perceive. Because what I saw is not beyond my logic and reasoning. I mean, I grew up with these things, with these experiences all the time. I'm used to it, and I've learned to contemplate them and understand certain things. But when I did this ceremony that first time, it was like amazing. Just out of the blue, with my own eyes, just boom, that's what happens. I see it happening right there, right before me. And I've seen things like this happen before, but with the function of the ceremony, at that time, for the reason the ceremony is done, that's what happened. It happened exactly because that was the reason the ceremony was for. And that was what was amazing to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, just for some people that aren't familiar with, say, spiritual penetrations or celestial visions or anything like that, it's hard for some people to conceive of those things
Of course.
being a reality.
So you can just, upon hearing this, sit there and go, well, it don't make sense to me. I don't like it. Don't worry about it. You can stop the show, and go on about your day and go watch TV or something. But for some, it is a reality, because reality isn't what is considered to be according to everybody else. Truthfully, reality is not that. But people will call it reality. And then that word reality itself is just a falsity. I wouldn't even like to call it reality, but I use it just for the sake of getting our point across. But people's minds are at their own capacities. So their experiences of the same things are different. Like me looking at my bottle of water on my table right now, okay, is not the way someone will view it, and not the way I will see it. Someone will see it the way will not see it the way I will see it. When I see this bottle, I mean, I see a physical bottle and the label and the cap and the water that's in it as well. But my eyes physically and the mind's eye has a different way of penetrating what this thing actually looks like. All I can say is, though I see it, I see something different. I don't see just that bottle. And whether or not it is the way it is irrelevant. Because when you take away all your views, a table is still a table, but you get to actually understand and see what that thing is made of. Doesn't mean you can put your hand through it. Doesn't mean you can move through walls. That's a different state of mind altogether. That's a different penetration of power altogether. So anywho, if you don't believe, that's okay. Don't believe. But understand that some things, some people experience things way different. And the function of this thrice yearning ceremony, which means 3 different periods of the day, of the day you're doing it, from the morning, the noon, and the evening or late afternoon periods, you are really pressing and intending for these beings who passed on to awaken. And then you're also taking the people who are alive now, you're passing merit and virtue to them, so they have better, auspicious, more happier things in their life to help them go along their life more happier, more peaceful, and hopefully awaken to the Buddhist teachings. And if they don't know anything about the Buddhist teachings or are not even interested, hopefully they'll become interested.
Is the thrice yearning ceremony, is it related to the All Souls Festival at all?
All Souls Festival, what do you mean?
I believe there's a Chinese. I don't know if holiday is a proper way to describe it, but a period of the year where people sort of pray for hungry ghosts and that type of thing.
That would be the ghost month, and that would be, I think, the 7th month or the 8th month. I keep forgetting if it's the 7th or 8th month. We call that 鬼月. Yue is a month, Gui is a ghost, right? And that usually is a time period uh, during the ghost month. We'll call it we'll call it the gates of the doorways, or the hell vibration is in sync with earth vibration, so it's like as though the doors are open and all these ghosts and demons and spirits are free to run amok on the world. I have experiences with that too, which I'm not going to go into it today. um, but during this a certain time period, it's like some would leave food out, out of on their door. Some would put talismans on their door. Some would put certain types of leaves on their door to ward off the evil spirits. There were ceremonies that are done throughout that month to help these beings, raise their vibrational level, understand things, awaken, and move on, so to say. But this specific ceremony is not done just for that time. I mean, you can do it in that time, and I have, and it was just an amazing thing. I've done it. I've done the ceremony after the first time. I've done it in my school, 3 days a week, taking one part of the 3 times, doing it once a day. So, like a Tuesday night, a Wednesday night, and Thursday night. First part Tuesday, second Wednesday, third part Thursday. And during the month of the Ghost Month, I did it on the 1st, the 15th, and the last day of the month. And it was just an amazing thing. I had a full house, and I was the only one with a physical body, you know? And things are just that way. What can I say? This starting ceremony, it goes very deep. The whole ceremony basically lays out a gist of the mind, a gist of the function of the ceremony, a gist of the Pure Land, Buddha's Pure Land, Amitabha's Pure Land. It reads the Amitabha Buddha Sutra, which I think is the shorter version of the larger sutra. Just the Buddha speaks Amitabha Sutra. Recites the Heart Sutra and the Rebirth in the Pure Land mantra, which is basically strengthening the resolve to be reborn in the Pure Land. It goes with the Chanhui. We call Chanhui, which is a repentance ceremony. And it's not like the repentance people think, oh, I go to church and repent my sins. It's not about that. The word sin has gotten a bad rap. It just means things you've done that are not good. Maybe they're a little unpleasant for most. Maybe they're very unpleasant for most, especially for oneself. But it's a repentance ceremony. So in Buddhism, we'll have this repentance ceremony, which is you are saying, okay, I've done some nasty things in my time, maybe in past lives that I don't remember. I've done some things that aren't so good for people and myself, and I want to correct those ways. And you vow to correct those ways. You vow to understand the Buddhist teachings. You vow to cut off afflictions. You vow to help all beings of the 10 directions, attain Buddhahood. And you also vow to be reborn in the Pure Land and whatnot. So that's what Chanhui is, just basically recognizing that you may have done some terrible things, whether you think they were good, other people thought they were bad, or whatever the case is. Regardless of the views, things you've done that are bad, you not asking for forgiveness from the Buddhas. The Buddhas don't offer forgiveness. They offer you methods to help you change. Okay, they don't say, you're forgiven, so let me take you by the hand and walk with you across the street. No, they don't do that. They sit there and go, don't ask me for forgiveness. What's wrong with you? You know, come on, man. It's you made the problem. You got to fix it, and here's the method to do it. I don't care if you whatever you did, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is you utilize the method, and you show sincerity, and you cultivate. And when you start getting yourself up there, then I'm right there. When you're starting to practice, I'm still there, but you haven't earned your own goodness. So how am I going to give it to you? I don't make you a Buddha. That's what the Buddha says. I don't make you a Buddha. I don't give you enlightenment. You have to earn it yourself. You have to cultivate it yourself.
So would there be any dangers for the layperson to try and do this?
Not at all. Not at all. If you're a layperson wanting to do a general individual ceremony for, let's say, your past one, your loved ones in the past who have, died, and you're thinking, oh, maybe I want to do this, by all means, do it. I've revised the handbook that I was given that year that I did started doing the thrice yearning ceremony, my student had went out and did the ceremony on his own. The one who was a little skeptical in the beginning decided he's going to go out, and he felt the connection afterwards. He was really taken by it, and he went and did the thrice yearning ceremony on his own, and he was able to get a handbook. That time, the first day, I was thinking, I wish I could get a handbook and do this myself. The second time my student had went on his own, he came back with a handbook. He says, "Didn't you want this?" And he read my mind because I didn't tell him. He came back with the handbook, and I looked at it, and it was already, translated in English, and it had Chinese pinyin, so those can follow in Chinese if the ceremony was in Chinese, so it could follow in English if they ever did it in English. But the English, was it could have used some revision. So what I did recently, finally, was I took the English aspect and I revised it, and I took the Chinese, they're not Chinese mantras, they're transliterated mantras. Okay, so I took the mantras that I had a Chinese pinyin, and I reworded it in the phonetics. So as it is spoken in the pinyin, I've written out the phonetics for it. Not in the exact pinyin, because some people don't learn Chinese. They don't learn Chinese, so they don't know how to read Chinese pinyin. I wrote it in phonetics. So if it was like a Namo Ami Tuofo, okay, people are like, how the hell do you write that? Namo, Ami, how do you write that? So I wrote it the way it sounds instead of writing it the exact way it is, And
So,
I have it available on my website. It's free. If you go to guizhenhui.net, you look in one aspect. If you look for the place, what is it called? I don't even know. I don't go to my website often. But there's a link on there that goes to some books. What is it called? The Guizhen Library. You click on that, and you'll find the Thrice Yearning Ceremony Handbook when you scroll down a little bit. And you can download it for free. It tells you how to do it.
sorry, my phone's ringing in the background.
Oh, no.
Just more of a general question, but does it make any difference? Like, I know a lot of the sutras, people read them in the Sanskrit or the Chinese version. Why don't people just read the English translation?
Maybe it's because they think it has to be done in the traditional language, the language that it was passed down in. The Buddha spoke that language because that's the land he was born in. So that's the language he utilized. If he was born in America, he may use English, he may use Spanish, he may use whatever other language is mostly spoken in that land. So that's basically it. The beings who hear do not need to hear it in the traditional language, though you may feel it has more power to it. Of course it would, because that's the charge it was in when it came here. When the teachings came here, and I understand the Buddhist teachings didn't first come here with Shakyamuni Buddha. They were here before, for thousands and thousands of years before Shakyamuni came, because Shakyamuni wasn't the only Buddha in our world. There were other Buddhas in our world who brought in the Buddhist teachings. Hence the myriad amounts of different types of cultivation on this planet that have different names. Okay? So you can speak it in English if you have the English versions. And those who come and listen, those ghosts, those spirits, whomever, whatever, they'll understand it because it's in vibration. Language is vibration. And they understand the energetic vibration of things. So it doesn't matter if you're saying in Chinese, English, German, Tibetan, Sanskrit, whatever. They'll hear it. They'll understand.
Okay, so any closing advice if anybody wants to try this on their own, or any closing thoughts?
Well, basically, you can, I would suggest, one, go and partake in a ceremony. Find out where they're doing a ceremony in your town, in your city or country, and go and partake in one. Get a feel of it. Get an idea of what it's like. Really get that whole group feel. It helps you get a better idea of how to do things. Then when you do it on your own, it's quite simple. I mean, you'll see in the larger ceremonies where there's hundreds or thousands of people together, you'll have flowers, you'll have many, many things being offered up. And then you're going to sit there thinking to yourself, how the hell am I going to offer all this? I mean, I'm poor, or, middle class, or I'm rich, but I don't have that much money to go buy, golden daisies and flowers and all these foods and all that. How am I going to do that? Well, you got to think. In the Buddhist sutras, you'll have monks or Buddhas or Bodhisattvas making offerings to the Buddhas of the 10 directions. And what were they making offerings of? Jewels and flowers and everything you can name of that's supposed to be ultra expensive in our world. Where the hell they get the money to get all that stuff? You know, they didn't do it that way. They did it with their mind. You're making up offerings with the mind, with the truest sincerity. That's how they made offerings to the Buddhas of the Ten Directions, with all these gold, jewels, and clothing, and whatever you can find, whatever you can see in the sutras that they say how they made offerings. They did it with their mind. And if the mind is all pervasive, and the imagination is just amazing, you can think of whatever the hell it is you want to think of to offer to these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas out there. So when you do your ceremony as an individual, maybe you can go buy a bouquet of flowers if you want to. You know, get a few pieces of vegetarian food, throw it on your altar. You know, get some incense, light it up, and your offerings are done. Then you offer up the most important, your conduct. You offer up your merit and virtue. You offer up your breath, the very thing that keeps your physical body alive. You offer that up to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And they're not sitting there going, that's some damn good food. Those are some beautiful smelling flowers, you know? And good, I'm going to eat up your virtue and merit. Really, really, really good. You know, they're not doing that. They're not actually sitting there going, I need your offerings so I can help you. They're not doing that at all. That's not why offerings are done. Offerings just manifest or show, or as a way of showing your sincerity. That's all it is. Okay? So if you don't have the means to buy flowers or buy some food, don't offer up any whatsoever. Offer up some incense if you can. If nothing at all, offer up your breath. And that means you perform the ceremony sincerely. You don't sit there reading the ceremony and start thinking, you know, you're going to go eat ice cream when you're done. Or you're going to go watch a zombie movie later on. You know, you just sit there and do your work. Sincerity is basically in how much you put in, and you put in your whole self, then that's enough. And you can do the ceremony individually. You can do it with 2 or 3 people who will read along with you with what you're reading. You know, that's it. I lay it all out in the handbook. I lay out how I do it personally, so people can utilize that method. But the whole thing was written up a long time ago. So it has its function and it has its use. That's basically all I can say. It's something so profound. If you want to talk about profound and mundane stuff, I would say that's a very profound thing. The thrice yearning ceremony is very powerful, and it's very much needed. You can transfer that merit and virtue to the living beings on this planet. You can transfer it to, shall I say it? You can transfer it to countries and those who are running the countries, hopefully, you know, with the intention that they receive the good of these merits and virtues and awaken to a higher principle of compassion and goodness and start doing right for their people. You know, you can start doing it that way. That's how you can change the world slowly, without getting shot in the face, without getting run over, without getting put in jail for assumptions of being a spy or treason.
All right. We'll end it on that note. So thanks again for joining us, Lynn.
No problem.
And I'm not going to quote Big Trouble in Little China this week. I'm going to go back to the Tao Te Ching. So Thank you for listening to Expedient Means at Lin Wei on Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we discuss the Four Noble Truths. And to quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains.
Oh, yeah.